to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. We're talking about a lot of things right now in boxing, what's going on in the boxing world. And I just want to address something that I heard Max Kellerman say. Max Kellerman was saying that, recently, he was saying that Gennady Golovkin was one of the greatest middleweights ever. Who the hell did Gennady Golovkin ever beat? Come on. He was a unified middleweight champion. He was powerful, and he fought in the same division for his whole career. And he lost to Canelo. He didn't beat Canelo not even once. Even though I think some of those fights could have went either way. But this guy, Max Kellerman, is so biased. He's so biased because on an ESPN column, he never mentions Felix Trinidad. And Felix Trinidad is a way better fighter, middleweight than Golovkin, and a better fighter, overall greater fighter. Accomplished more, fought better elite fighters. Somebody's calling me right now. Somebody's calling. Felix Tito Trinidad defended his belt 15 times. He beat back-to-back undefeated fighters in his career. Not only champions, but he also beat back-to-back undefeated contenders. In the 15 defenses that he made, he beat Obakar, undefeated. He beat Yuri Boys Campas, undefeated as well. And all the fights that he's had were very competitive. He beat more champions than Gennady Golovkin ever beat. Who did Golovkin beat in his career? Who did he beat? Ryota Murata, Kell Brook, coming up in weight, laughable. Daniel Jacobs. Those are the only notable names that he's had in his record. You can't compare to Felix Tito Trinidad, who fought De La Hoya, beat De La Hoya, took away his undefeated record. I don't care what anybody says about the decision. You can't win a fight running the last 4 or 5 rounds like De La Hoya did. And Felix Trinidad did more than enough to win, and he beat the golden boy, Oscar De La Hoya, undefeated. And he stayed undefeated for his whole career until the last remaining part of his career when he moved up in weight. But he still dominated for 7 years. He stayed champion for 7 years, from 92 to 2021. That's a lot more better than Gennady Golovkin, who Gennady Golovkin was a good fighter. Don't get it twisted, but he wasn't a great fighter. He wasn't no Hall of Famer. He's not no Hall of Famer. This guy, Max Kellerman, it's laughable the way he assesses that that this guy Golovkin was one of the greatest middleweights of all time. But then he says, oh, what hindered him was his weak resume. But what about Trinidad? Trinidad's resume was way stronger than Golovkin's. Trinidad beat Pernell Whitaker, Hector Camacho. He beat Oscar De La Hoya, David Reed, William Joppy, Fernando Vargas. Come on, the list goes on. He beat a gold medalist in David Reed, and he actually was more dominant than Golovkin, and he fought way better fighters, and he didn't stay in one weight class. Golovkin stayed in one weight class his whole career, middleweight. He's overrated. Golovkin is overrated. Felix Tito Trinidad is a way better fighter. He's one of the greatest middleweights. I would say one of the greatest junior middleweights, and he was a very good middleweight as well. Because he lost to Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins was physically bigger than him. He was naturally 160-pound weight class. Trinidad moved up to his weight class, and he took a chance. And his career moved really fast, and he accomplished 5 championships in 3 weight classes. In 3 different weight classes. So you gotta give Felix Tito Trinidad the nod as far as who's a Hall of Famer. Felix Tito Trinidad is a Hall of Famer, not no Gennady Golovkin. But Max Kellerman, if Gennady Golovkin had the record that Felix Tito Trinidad had, Max Kellerman would be on his nuts. Max Kellerman would definitely say that Trinidad is the greatest middleweight or junior middleweight of all time. But he doesn't even mention him in his 2025 column of ESPN. He mentions Hopkins as his number 2 pound-for-pound fighter. But he doesn't mention Felix Trinidad, but he'll mention Golovkin. Golovkin, an overrated middleweight. He lost to back-to-back fights with Canelo. He lost back-to-back fights. He didn't win none of those fights, even though I think the fight could have went either way in the first fight. But at the same time, I feel like Max Kellerman has always been biased with Puerto Ricans, and he's always been biased with Felix Tito Trinidad. I think he has his favorites, and he's very biased when he makes his assessments. And I feel like he has not been fair to Felix Tito Trinidad. Felix Tito Trinidad is a Hall of Famer, and he's way better than Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin he has 21 defenses in his belt, of his middleweight belt. He unified the belt against David Lemuy. Who the hell's that? He's not an elite fighter. He's not an elite fighter. Who the hell did Gennady Golovkin beat to be a middleweight, to be a unified middleweight champion? He didn't fight nobody. Okay, Daniel Jacobs. That's the best. Daniel Jacobs and Canelo Alvarez is the best names on his record. But then other than that, but he lost to Canelo. He beat Daniel Jacobs, but Daniel Jacobs is not on the same level as Oscar De La Hoya was when Felix Tito Trinidad beat him, and Fernando Vargas when Felix Tito Trinidad beat him. Felix Tito Trinidad beat De La Hoya and Fernando Vargas when they were undefeated, and in their prime, and on the top level. Fernando Vargas had beat Ike Quartey, had beat Winky Wright. Come on, who the hell did Gennady Golovkin beat to be considered the greatest middleweight, one of the greatest middleweights ever? Man, you smoking crack. Max Kellerman, you are smoking crack. You are smoking crack. What are you smoking, man? You don't know. I think you know boxing, but you pick and choose. And you always had something against Felix Tito Trinidad. You always had something against Puerto Ricans. I don't know. Maybe a Puerto Rican stole your girl in high school. I don't know. But Max Kellerman, you are a sucker, man. You are so overrated, man. And then you undermine what Felix Tito Trinidad has accomplished. He is more accomplished than Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin is trash compared to like Felix Trinidad. He don't have a good resume. You say that that the only thing that hindered Golovkin's career is his weak resume. Okay, but you still call him one of the greatest middleweights ever and the monster, just because he defended his belt against 21 fighters that nobody really knew. Like, it was not really nobody really elite. The only elite, I don't even say elite. Daniel Jacobs was a really good fighter, but he was not elite like on a level like Oscar De La Hoya, Fernando Vargas, Pernell Whitaker, Camacho. Those are elites. And I don't care what anybody says, but Felix Tito Trinidad is levels above Gennady Golovkin and Canelo. Canelo ain't jack, man. He's nothing compared to Felix Tito Trinidad. I'm telling you the truth. This is the facts. Canelo is good, but he would be an average fighter in the 90s. If he was to be next to the elite of the 90s, Canelo Alvarez would be trash next to them. Against Ike Quartey, Felix Trinidad, Pernell Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya, there was no way that Canelo would be considered a great fighter in that era. So, do you think Danny Garcia is a Hall of Famer? I think he is, but his record it pales in comparison to like Felix Trinidad, who fought way better fighters and they were like all in their prime. And you got to look at it like this, even though Danny Garcia, I consider him a Hall of Famer. He beat Amir Khan and Lucas Matisse, but let's be real, Lucas Matisse wasn't really a champion. Like, he wasn't I think he was an interim champion, but did Danny Garcia do enough to be a Hall of Famer? Yeah, I think he did, because he beat Amir Khan and he beat Lucas Matisse, but his resume, like he lost to Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, and Porter. They're all elite fighters. I don't take nothing away from Danny Garcia, but like he's a Hall of Famer because he stayed. Like the fights were close when he fought Keith one time, Thurman. It was a close fight, could have went either way, and Porter as well. So I just feel that his resume is not as strong as like the way Felix Tito Trinidad had. He beat undefeated fighters in their prime and he didn't lose to them. Yes, Danny Garcia beat Lucas Matisse, who was knocking everybody out, and he's a two-time champion. He's a Hall of Famer. He beat Amir Khan. Amir Khan had no chin, but still, he had some speed and he was quick. And, he was underrated throughout his career, Danny Garcia. I give Danny Garcia his credit. But according to, if you compare it like to Felix Trinidad, what he's accomplished, Miguel Cotto, it pales in comparison, but he's still a Hall of Famer, Danny Garcia. I don't take nothing away from him, but his resume is better than Golovkin. Danny Garcia defended his belt 5 times in the division, the 140-pound division. Then he defended times in the welterweight division. So he has you could say that he's beat some credible fighters that were like known, and Matisse was dangerous. So You know, that was like the highlight of his career. And, you know, he beat Brandon Rios, but I'm talking about he fought he fought some champions before, former champions. He did. Campbell. He fought you know, he did. But if you look at Golovkin's career, it pales in comparison to Felix Trinidad. He fought a lot of trash, tomato cans. Jim Smith, Vargas elite. Yes, he's elite compared to all those fighters that Golovkin fought. Golovkin, you're gonna say that Vargas, who beat Winky Wright and beat Ike Quartey, wasn't elite? Then you smoking something too. If you think that, that he wasn't elite, then you smoking something, because he actually beat Winky Wright. He beat Ike Quartey. He beat legitimate elite fighters. You're gonna tell me Ike Quartey wasn't elite? You're going to tell me Ike Quartey in the 90s, Ike Quartey from Ghana, that he wasn't an elite? You crazy if you think that he wasn't elite. So if Fernando Vargas beat Ike Quartey and he beat Winky Wright, he's elite. Fernando Vargas is elite. Daniel Jacobs, who did he beat to be elite? Who did he beat? That's laughable, man. You can't compare Golovkin to Felix Trinidad. Trinidad will wipe his freaking ass with Golovkin. He will wipe his freaking fondillo with Golovkin. Golovkin is not on the same level. He knocked out a bunch of tomato cans. He didn't knock nobody out when he fought elite fighters. When he fought Canelo, did he knock him out? No. When Felix Trinidad fought elite fighters, he may have not knocked out De La Hoya, but he knocked out Fernando Vargas. He knocked out undefeated fighters, Yuri Boy Campas, Obakar. Obakar would have freaking beaten Golovkin. Obakar would have beaten him. Obakar was a hot prospect. He was like a great contender, 20-0, and he had knockouts. And when Trinidad fought him, he was ranked number 1 and number 2. Trinidad beat him, knocked him out. He also knocked out Yuri Boy Campas, 56-0, 50 KOs. Come on. And then Golovkin, who did he fight? Who did he fight? Look, De La Hoya, Whitaker, Fernando Vargas, David Reed, William Joppy, Felix Trinidad beat all of them. And he did it. He stayed undefeated. He did it very impressively. And the guys that he fought were bigger than him. So when he fought Bernard Hopkins was a legitimate 160-pounder that fought all his career at 160. So when you talk about losing to Bernard Hopkins, he lost to the greater man that night. But at the same time, who has Golovkin beaten? I'll wait. He says, I think Gigi would hang with Tito. You on crack if you think that. Jim Smith, you are on crack if you think that he can hang with Tito. Tito would have knocked him out. Golovkin knocked out a bunch of tomato cans. Who did Golovkin ever knock out? I'll wait. I know you can't name somebody respectable like the way Felix Tito Trinidad fought. The opponents that he's fought, the opponents that Felix Tito Trinidad fought, and he beat and knocked out. He could have knocked out David Reed, but the referee didn't stop the fight. He knocked down David Reed like 3 or 4 times in the ring, but the referee didn't stop the fight. He should have stopped that fight, and he was elite. David Reed would have beat Golovkin. David Reed would have schooled Golovkin because he could box and he could punch. David Reed was no joke. He was a gold medalist. Trinidad knocked him down 3 times and won a unanimous decision. And Fernando Vargas was undefeated. Felix Tito Trinidad knocked him out. He would have beat Golovkin. Fernando Vargas would have beaten Golovkin. Golovkin's overrated. I liked him when he was coming up. He was exciting, but he was fighting a bunch of tomato cans. He never proved anything. He proved that he could knock a bunch of tomato cans out. That's what he proved. He didn't prove nothing else. So I feel like Felix Tito Trinidad doesn't get the credit that he truly deserves. Instead of being top 20 pound for pound, he should be top 5. Top 5. If Miguel Cotto gave Mayweather hell and actually scored that fight a draw, if Mayweather couldn't hang with Cotto and he got busted, his nose got busted up, and he couldn't dominate Cotto, because that wasn't a dominant performance. I don't care what anybody says. If you see that fight with Miguel Cotto and Floyd Mayweather, that fight was a draw. That's what I saw. So if Tito Trinidad would have fought Mayweather, Mayweather would have got knocked out or dominated and knocked down. He would have definitely got knocked out or knocked down and got hurt. He would have been clinging on to dear life. Mayweather, because Mayweather was not a big guy. Felix Tito Trinidad had trouble with bigger guys, like 160 pounders, like this guy, like Bernard Hopkins, Winky Wright. They were physically bigger guys, and they can box, but they were physically big. You had to be physically big to do something to Felix Tito Trinidad. You couldn't be the size of Mayweather and be effective. I don't care what you say about Mayweather's defense. It's overrated. He's a great fighter, but he picked and chose the fighters at the right time. When he fought Cotto, he fought Cotto when he knew that Cotto was already damaged goods because he lost to Margachito. That's why he picked him. And I feel that when he fought Miguel Cotto, he still struggled with Cotto. He didn't dominate Cotto. I think the fight was a draw. So if he struggled with Cotto, he would have definitely got knocked out by Felix Tito Trinidad, Floyd Mayweather. He would have got knocked out by Felix Trinidad. He couldn't handle Cotto. Cotto was it was an even fight. It was a draw. I scored that fight a draw. And I don't care what anybody says. That fight, Cotto hurt Mayweather many times, busted up his nose and made him bleed. Mayweather didn't look so flawless in that fight. He did not. And he didn't fight like that on purpose, like some stupid people say. No, he's not going to fight like that on purpose. He's not stupid. He fought like that because Cotto made him fight like that. Cotto made Mayweather fight with him. That's why. He didn't fight like that on purpose. He got his nose busted up and bleeding on purpose. Come on, man. That's for the birds, man. If you believe that, you're a gullible fool. Felix Tito Trinidad would have knocked out Floyd Mayweather. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to that channel. You're tuning into my channel, Tony Also Knows Boxing. I'm saying the truth. That's what I truly feel. I'm not being biased. I just feel like Max Kellerman is overrated, and he's very, 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 very biased. Biased, especially against Felix Tito Trinidad. He's always been biased. Max Kellerman's always been biased. Subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yes, I'm just keeping it raw, and I'm keeping it a buck. I feel like that, Max Kellerman, he definitely is overrated, and he is biased. If Gennady Golovkin had the same resume that Felix Tito Trinidad had, oh man, he would be on his nuts so hard. He'd be like, man, he's the number one. He should be number one in the world, or number two, pound for pound. But no, since he's Puerto Rican, he's gonna undermine him. Oh, he don't like Felix Tito Trinidad. I could tell he never liked him. I could tell just by the way he doesn't even put him in the comments. He doesn't even talk about him in the ESPN column of 2025, where he mentions Hopkins as his second best pound for pound fighter. Max Kellerman didn't consider. It's obvious that he didn't consider Felix Tito Trinidad a perennial top tier fighter. But you consider Golovkin a top tier fighter. You on crack, yo, Max Kellerman. You are freaking on crack. You need to check your brain or stop being biased. Or maybe you just don't like Puerto Ricans because Puerto Ricans took your girlfriend in high school and they beat you down. I don't know. You got a complex with Puerto Ricans that you don't want to give Felix Tito Trinidad his just due. Felix Tito Trinidad has fought way better champions and opposition than Gennady Golovkin. You look at Overcard, Judy Boy Campas. Those are contending. And then we look at Pernell Whitaker, Fernando Vargas, Oscar De La Hoya, the Golden Boy. He beat him. David Reed, a gold medalist. William Joppy. Trinidad is, you cannot even compare Golovkin to Felix Tito Trinidad, because Golovkin his resume is so weak, he's inferior to Felix Tito Trinidad. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to that channel. You're tuning into my channel. I'm telling you the truth. I'm frustrated with people not giving Felix Tito Trinidad his just due. He is the greatest Puerto Rican champion, number one, and then I got Wilfredo Gomez number two, and Wilfred Benitez number three, and Camacho number four, and then Rosario number five. And Cotto, I got him there in the top. I got him number five, and then I got Rosario number six. Yeah, I got him in my top 10. So Felix Tito Trinidad to me is number one, pound for pound, best Puerto Rican boxer ever. But a lot of people try to undermine his accomplishments, but they overemphasize what Gennady Golovkin what he did in his career. He didn't do nothing in his career. They overemphasize Gennady Golovkin like he's some big, great monster. He fought a whole bunch of tomato cans and knocked them out. 21 defenses. So what? Felix Tito Trinidad's 15 defenses of the 147-pound weight class is way more impressive than Gennady Golovkin's 21 defenses at 160. Felix Tito Trinidad's 147, 15 successful defenses is way more impressive than Gennady Golovkin's 21 defenses at middleweight. I'm speaking facts. Who did he lose to, Golovkin? He lost to Canelo. He lost to, he got, what win does he have in his record that could say, wow, like, you know, I'm impressed with Golovkin. What record? Like, he beat Royado Murata? Who the hell's that? He's not an elite. He's not gonna be in the Hall of Fame. Daniel Jacobs. Okay. Kell Brook moved up in weight to fight Gennady Golovkin. That's not impressive to me. Yes, Brucem F. Vane 4148. He says facts. Yeah, man, that's one real person on my live right now. Everybody else is faking jacks. Everybody else, they wouldn't survive where I come from because they fake jacks. Yeah, but you a real dude. You a real cat. Brucem F. Vane 4148. Yeah, he says facts. He says that I'm speaking facts. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. I'm not afraid to speak my mind and say the truth. Max Kellerman is on some serious drugs, or he was just born with something, with a defect in his brain. To think that Gennady Golovkin is one of the greatest middleweights ever. But then he says, oh, what hurt him was, what hindered his career was his weak opposition. But what about Felix Tito Trinidad? I say he's the best welterweight ever. Best welterweight and junior middleweight ever. Look, how many defenses did Errol Spence make of his title at 147? He made 7. I consider him a Hall of Famer. I consider him an elite, but he ain't better than Felix Tito Trinidad. But nobody wants to mention Felix Tito Trinidad in the American mainstream because they're biased against Puerto Rican boxers. They're hating because we're on another level. When we do something, we do it passionately, wholeheartedly, 100%. Puerto Ricans don't back down, and we have skills. We've been in the game since day one in boxing. We've been in boxing since the 1920s, or a little bit earlier. So I feel like Max Kellerman is seriously got some issues with Felix Tito Trinidad. For him to not mention Felix Tito Trinidad in the ESPN column recently, I think he mentioned Hopkins, and he excludes Felix Tito Trinidad because he's insane. He's really undermining and being in denial to not acknowledge Felix Tito Trinidad was either the best welterweight or the best junior middleweight. And okay, we're talking about Fundora versus Thurman. That fight is supposedly they're gonna make it for January 24th, and when Pacquiao fights, and they're trying to get Pacquiao to fight Rolly Romero, but it might not happen because they're forcing Rolly Romero to fight his mandatory, who is undefeated. I forgot his name, but I said it in my previous video. But money talks, so they might make the fight between Rolly Romero and Pacquiao and probably pay off the step-aside money for the #1 contender from Ukraine that he's supposed to fight. So, you know, boxing is like that, it's politics. So, and then Mike Coppinger confirmed this. He said that it's not going to be the main event. It's not going to be the main event on the card. The Fundora versus Thurman is going to be on the undercard, most likely, of Pacquiao Fundora. Not Pacquiao Fundora. Pacquiao versus whoever he fights. And there's rumors that he's going to fight Lomachenko. That's what they're saying, but I don't know. He might fight Rolly Romero because money talks. They'll probably pay, you know, the fighter that Rolly Romero is supposed to fight against some step-aside money. Because, you know, that's how boxing politics is. Because they want to make an easy fight for Pacquiao. And I think Rolly Romero is an easy fight for Pacquiao. I think so. But I think an easier fight would be Lomachenko. But I don't know. That is possible. So, and I feel like they're going to put the Oshiki Foster versus Stephen Fulton on the undercard of Pacquiao. So it's going to be a stacked card. It's going to be Stephen Fulton versus Oshiki Foster, and it's going to be Fundora versus Keith Thurman, and then Pacquiao, whoever he's fighting, whether it's Rolly Romero or Lomachenko, that's going to be the main event. So that's all I got for now as far as that fight. And the fight between Oshie Foster versus Stephen Fulton for Foster's WBC super featherweight belt on the line. It could land on the Pacquiao undercard, as well as Fundora versus Keith Thurman. So this is what I got. This is like the latest news that I got. But I feel like yeah, I was fired up about Felix Tito Trinidad and And the way Max Kellerman undermines Felix Tito Trinidad, he's always undermined him, and he's always overhyped Gennady Golovkin. He's always done that. But if Felix Tito Trinidad was Anglo, and he didn't have the Puerto Rican name, and he had Golovkin's name, I bet you, I guarantee you, I bet you my life that Max Kellerman will have him #1, and he would be on his nutsacks for the whole few years talking about him. But since Golovkin is not accomplished, but he wants to make him look good and highlight him the best way he could, because everybody talked about him like he was this monster before he fought Canelo, and I was excited about him, but he never proved anything. He only stayed in the middleweight, and he unified the belt against who? David Lemieux? 21 defenses against who? The only fighters that are notable, on his record is Kell Brook, who moved up in weight to fight him. Not fair. Unfair. It was all money, business. And who else? Rayado Murata. Daniel Jacobs. That's laughable. That is laughable. Felix Tito Trinidad is way levels above Gennady Golovkin. You can't even compare Golovkin to Felix Tito Trinidad. Trinidad would have freaking... I don't want to say. He would have annihilated Golovkin. Golovkin wouldn't last 4 rounds with Felix Tito Trinidad. Maybe 4 rounds if he's lucky. Tito Trinidad was on another level. He's on another level. Like, the way he united people that didn't even want to watch boxing, wanted to watch boxing because Felix Tito Trinidad was fighting in Puerto Rico. That's how it was. And outside of Puerto Rico, too, in the diaspora, he united Puerto Ricans and united people in general, like of all races, but mainly Puerto Ricans. But he actually made people that didn't want to watch boxing want to watch boxing. They became a fan because Felix Tito Trinidad was fighting. Like my mom, God rest her soul, she wasn't into boxing, but when Felix Tito Trinidad fought, she always made sure that she watched the Felix Tito Trinidad fight. He brought that passion, that emotion in Puerto Ricans and in boxing fans in general, that they just wanted to see Felix Tito Trinidad fight. He brought excitement in the ring, passion, and Puerto Rican pride that no other boxer has displayed. Not like Felix Tito Trinidad. He's on another level. They will close work. Like, work will be closed when Felix Tito Trinidad was fighting. They would provide the fights in jail in Puerto Rico when Felix Tito Trinidad was fighting. There's something different about Felix Tito Trinidad. He's an icon. And, even though Bernard Hopkins beat Felix Trinidad and he was disrespectful and he dropped the flag on the floor, he'll never be an icon like Felix Trinidad. Bernard Hopkins will never be a beloved athlete icon like Felix Tito Trinidad. I'm pretty sure Bernard Hopkins is jealous of that, because he can never acquire that kind of love and that kind of feeling from a lot of people, a lot of fans. And I'm just being real, because Felix Tito Trinidad had that aura that not many boxers can bring that. Like, he made people that don't like boxing want to watch boxing. Mike Tyson was like that. But we're talking about an icon from Puerto Rico who's considered the Michael Jordan of boxing in Puerto Rico, Felix Tito Trinidad. You can't compare Golovkin. Golovkin didn't have that appeal. Yes, he was exciting. People like to watch him fight. I wanted to see him beat Canelo, but he don't have that aura that Felix Tito Trinidad had. That's another thing that makes Felix Tito Trinidad a Hall of Famer. Golovkin is not a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Shamer, because he didn't fight anybody great. He didn't beat anybody great. He stayed in the same weight class, 160 pounds, all his career. And who did he beat? He didn't beat nobody of note. Okay, he beat Daniel Jacobs. Ooh, that's nothing to be so excited about. You can't compare that to Felix Trinidad's resume. Max Kellerman, check your brain, man. Go to the doctors, check your brain. There's something wrong with you. You're very biased, and you undermine the accomplishments of real talented elite champions like Felix Trinidad. You are a very over-biased analyst. You shouldn't even be called an analyst if you're gonna do that. I know you know your boxing, but when it comes to Felix Trinidad, you have amnesia, or you choose selective memory for your own benefit, and you have selective memory for Golovkin, and only was beneficial to make Golovkin look good when Golovkin is not really that good. You only overemphasize his knockouts, his title defenses, 21 defenses against who? But you mentioned right afterwards, in hindsight, you say that Golovkin, what hurt him was, what hindered his career was his weak opposition. You should just say the truth, man. Stop lying. Say that his weak opposition doesn't qualify him to be the greatest, one of the greatest middleweights ever. No. If anything, Felix Tito Trinidad should be one of the greatest welterweights ever or junior middleweights ever. Or the greatest middleweight ever or junior middleweight champion. It should be. We got a lot of competition, we have a lot of competition in that in the welterweight. But I feel that this fight, I'm not gonna talk about it no more with Keith one time. I'm not gonna talk about Max Kellerman anymore. He's useless. He's disposable. You can just throw him in the trash and get rid of him and get somebody more credible to be a boxing analyst, because he fails to recognize Felix Tito Trinidad's greatness. He fails to recognize that. You know why? Because he's biased. He's so biased. Yeah, Kenneth Harvin, 7861. GG didn't challenge himself. Stayed in the same weight class and never challenged a champ in weight class above himself. Facts. Facts. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Some real cats tuning into my channel. I already got 2 official real cats that tuned in my channel. Kenneth Harvin, 7861. Brewsome F. Bain, 4148. These are the true realest people. The only true real people that actually tuned in tonight. So I appreciate you guys. That's true. Once again, speaking of facts, that's what Brewsome F. Bain, 4148 said. I appreciate you, my brother. Yes, I appreciate you. And Kenneth Harvin, 7861, I appreciate you too as well. GG didn't challenge himself. Stayed in the same weight class and never challenged a champ in weight classes above himself. Let me see. Mimi, thanks for tuning in. She said hi. Mimi said hi. I think it's he. Ethan Sports said hi. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. I appreciate you tuning into my channel. My channel's growing. I'm trying to get to 1,000, 5,000. I want to surpass, and I want to keep giving everybody great content. But I don't like when Max Kellerman says stupid things like I don't even want to mention. He said Golovkin is one of the greatest middleweights ever, but what hindered his career was that he fought weak opposition. Come on, man. That hindered his career. He doesn't even qualify to be the best middleweight, one of the best middleweight champions ever. He's not. He's not. If anything, I feel like I say Bernard Hopkins, maybe Carlos Monzon. I will have to look into it, but I feel that the best welterweights ever, Felix Tito Trinidad, and the best junior middleweight ever, Felix Tito Trinidad. That's what I say. Puerto Rican, right here. Look, my favorite boxer from Puerto Rico, Felix Tito Trinidad. He's still loved in Puerto Rico. Like everywhere he goes, he's not conceited. He takes pictures with his fans. He don't care. He don't care who it is. He's humble. Nobody could get that status. It's hard to get that status. It takes a lot of passion and dedication and talent to get to that level where Felix Tito Trinidad is. Golovkin is trash. You can't even compare him. He never tested himself. He never fought Andre Ward. He never tried to go up and fight Andre Ward. He was waiting on the big money payday with Canelo. Why he didn't fight Andre Ward? Why he wanted to fight Mayweather? Because he wanted Mayweather to be at a disadvantage. He wanted to have the advantage over the fighter, and he fought Kell Brook, making Kell Brook go up in weight too. So it's trash, man. Golovkin is trash, and all these freaking analysts that like Max Kellerman, they're trash too. They're not credible. I don't respect them, because why would you give these people all this hype? Golovkin, why? Why? Because he's a European boxer or whatever? Like, Felix Tito Trinidad's Puerto Rican, but he accomplished way more than Golovkin. Look at Felix Tito Trinidad's resume. You can't compare it to Golovkin. Golovkin is trash. Golovkin don't have no resume. He fought in one weight class, 21 defenses against bums. And he didn't beat the elite fighters when he had the chance to. He didn't beat Canelo. He didn't get the win. That's what I'm talking about. So, Golovkin is overrated. And Felix Tito Trinidad should get more credit than what a lot of the boxing pundits have been mentioning. They have him top 20 pound for pound. Felix Tito Trinidad should be top 10 or top 5 pound for pound. I said it. That's right. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to my channel. I'm not playing around. I don't like the way they treated Felix Tito Trinidad. They treat him like he's irrelevant when he's very relevant, more relevant than Golovkin. Golovkin's irrelevant. What has Golovkin done? Like what has he achieved? He beat Rayo Murata, Daniel Jacob, and who else? Kell Brooks. Come on, man. Max Kellerman, you a clown. You a clown to mention stuff like that. The greatest welterweight ever is Felix Tito Trinidad, and junior middleweight ever is Felix Tito Trinidad. That's what I say, and that's what a lot of people believe. But most people that are haters, that are biased against Puerto Rican or Puerto Ricans or Felix Trinidad, they would say otherwise. But they don't know. They don't know nothing about boxing. But yeah, man, that's some bull crap. Brian Norman. If I like Brian Norman, man. Brian Norman Jr. Who do you guys think will win between Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney? I got Brian Norman Jr. knocking out Devin Haney. He got a glass jaw. Devin Haney, he got post-traumatic stress disorder. He ain't the same. He's not the same anymore. He's not gonna be able to handle. I seen the way Brian Norman Jr. fights, and I don't give Devin Haney much rounds. I think Devin Haney's gonna probably last 4 or 5 rounds against Brian Norman Jr. Brian Norman Jr. He has some skills too. He has some skills. He fights according to your style. And when he fought Giovanni Santillán, you know, he knocked him out in impressive fashion, but it took a while for him to do it. But you know, Giovanni Santillán was tough. He was undefeated, and he was coming forward. And I feel like that was a fight that battle of attrition. And I don't think Devin Haney's built like that. Devin Haney's not built for that kind of smoke. He beat Regis Progress, but Regis Progress is a shell of himself when he fought him. Like Regis Progress, his timing was off, and of course, you know, of course, Devin Haney was gonna look good. He beat Lomachenko twice. One of the fights, the first fight was close. Second fight, I say he won, but I feel like Lomachenko's overrated. Lomachenko was overrated, man. He lost to Salido. He lost to Orlando Salido, a tough veteran with a lot of losses that has a brawling style that comes forward, no technical abilities, no special effects. He beat Lomachenko. But everybody acts like Lomachenko was like the best thing since Muhammad Ali. No, he wasn't. He was good, but he was, just because he's European or Anglo, everybody gets excited in the mainstream and they want to promote it like that. But if a Puerto Rican fighter did the same thing that Lomachenko was doing, they would say, oh, he has no experience, it's too green. But since he's European, he's white, they say that, oh, he's the next Muhammad Ali. Come on, man. Come on. Shakur Stevenson is special, and they don't give him the credit he deserves. Shakur Stevenson is real special. You know how long it's taken for people to realize just how great Shakur Stevenson is? William Cepeda, he beat William Cepeda. And everybody was hyping him up like, oh, wow, like William Cepeda's going to put a loss on Shakur Stevenson's record. No, man. Shakur Stevenson's on another level. And Shakur Stevenson, when he beats Teofimo Lopez, you know what's going to happen? He said he's going to vacate the belt and give Keyshawn Davis an opportunity to fight for it. He said that a while ago, before he even made the decision to fight Teofimo Lopez. Before he even said that. So a lot of people that don't follow boxing for real, they say, oh, no, I can't believe that. That's not true. I highly doubt that. Shakur Stevenson doesn't want to fight at 140. He said he's a little guy. He'll only do it for the right amount of money. That's why he's fighting Teofimo Lopez at 140. He's going to take away Teofimo Lopez's belt at 140, Shakur Stevenson, and then he's going to vacate it and give Keyshawn Davis the opportunity to fight for that belt. I said it. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Yes, I said it. And this is facts that I'm speaking based on the interviews. What Shakur Stevenson actually said that. Kenneth Harvin 7861 says facts. I appreciate you, my brother, tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Subscribe to that channel. My channel's growing, and I want to get to 1,000 subscribers before the year's over. And if I could surpass 1,000 before the year's over, even better. I want to get 5,000. Because after I get 1,000, I want 5,000. I know God is with me, and I'm going to accomplish it because I give the fans what they want to hear, the truth, not sugarcoating stuff. I say how it is. I'm not afraid. Ethan Sports says hi. Hey, I appreciate you. Whoa, Polthodon says, you know your shit, bro. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate Yeah, man. I've been following boxing for years, man. Since I was a teenager. Since the 80s. I just gave you my age. but I aged like fine wine. Tony also, check out my music as well. On Spotify, Pandora. Unite the Tribes. Check out my new album, Mi Patria Linda. Check it out on all major platforms. All my songs have reached 1,000 streams. So I reached that plateau to get my music on different playlists, because my music is really resonating with people, because I rap and I sing and I talk about things that are relevant, and I also am very versatile. I sing reggae, R&B, I could do everything, house music, trap. I got a new album called The Essence of Who I Am. It's going to have a famous artist, dance artist, featuring with me on a song that I wrote for my mother, a house song and an Afro beat song. So yeah, that's coming next year, God willing. So subscribe to my channel, Tony Also Knows Boxing. Click that like button. Don't be afraid to subscribe to the truth. When you subscribe to Tony Also Knows Boxing, you're subscribing to the truth. And only brave, intelligent warriors subscribe to my channel and click the like button. So I appreciate everybody tuning into my channel. You guys are awesome. Thanks for the real people coming in, because there was some fake people talking about Golovkin, how Golovkin can hang with Tito Trinidad, and he would be able to hang with him. I don't think he would be able to hang with Tito Trinidad. Canelo wouldn't even be able to hang with Tito Trinidad. Canelo and Golovkin would have got knocked out by Felix Tito Trinidad. And Tito Trinidad would have beaten Mayweather too. And there's an interview somewhere like in the 90s, and I can't find it, where Floyd Mayweather actually said, when they asked him in the 90s, this is before Mayweather became Floyd Mayweather. This is before he got big. When he was coming up, when he had like maybe 13, 14 fights, they asked Floyd Mayweather in the interview. I can't find that interview, but he said it. They asked him, who do you think is the pound for pound best fighter in the world right now? And he says, hands down, Felix Tito Trinidad. Floyd Mayweather said that. He said that in the 90s. I can't find that video, but I'm a boxing fan now, and I know that video did happen, that interview did happen, and he did say it verbatim from his own mouth. He said Felix Tito Trinidad is the best pound for pound fighter, hands down. But the mainstream media, they want to downplay his accomplishment. They want to give Gennady Golovkin credit when he don't even deserve credit. He's trash. 21 defenses against who? And he hasn't beaten anybody elite. And he hasn't moved up in weight. He stayed at 160 his whole career. He could have fought Andre Ward. He could have, but he didn't. If he really wanted to be great, he would have did what Tito Trinidad did. He moved from 147 to 154 and then 160. He took chances. What kind of chances did Golovkin take? He's a bitch. Anyway, Golovkin is overrated, and Max Kellerman is overrated, and he's trash. He should be fired. He got fired from basketball, from Stephen A. Smith. He kicked him out. They should kick him out of boxing. He's trash. We don't need him. We don't need Max Kellerman. We need real boxing pundits that are not biased. He doesn't give Felix Tito Trinidad his credit. But you know what? We don't need Max Kellerman. We don't need him. They didn't need him in boxing. They didn't need him in basketball. Stephen A. Smith didn't need him in basketball. So we don't need him in boxing. Somebody got to fire him from boxing because he's trash. Just like Golovkin. Him and Golovkin could get married. Golovkin and Max Kellerman should get married because he's on his nutsacks too much. So I don't know. I think Max Kellerman, he should get a different job. I mean, I liked him before when he first started, but when he was like being so biased against Felix Tito Trinidad and being overly hyping Lomachenko and Gennady Golovkin, come on, man, he's trash. Kenneth Harvin 7861 number 1 says Felix fought all the greats in his era: Roy Jones, Hopkins, Vargas, Mayorga, Pernell Whitaker, and others. How dared he dared to be great? That's right, my brother. This is one of the realest guys right here. Yeah, this guy. Let me read that comment again. Kenneth Harvin 7861. Felix fought all the greats in his era: Roy Jones, Hopkins, Vargas, Mayorga, Pernell Whitaker, and others. He dared to be great. He beat Oscar De La Hoya too, and he beat David Reed, William Jaffe, and he beat the undefeated contenders Obakar, also Yuri Boy Campas. Yeah, and Oscar. Yeah, facts, man. Thanks for tuning in, Kenneth Harvin 7861, and Ryan Reddy's KE8402 says GG a stud. Yeah, he's a stud for you. You should marry him, man. You and Max Kellerman on some funny stuff. You riding the nuts. You riding the nuts of GG. Somebody said, Wawuwa. Thanks for tuning in, Wawuwa. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Wawuwa says Kellerman is just an a-hole. I don't want to curse too much. He's an asshole. He's an asshole. Yeah, he says Kellerman is just an asshole. He is. He is. He's biased, man. You can't take him serious. You can't take people like that serious. I can't take boxing analysts, so-called analysts like that serious. I can't. I don't respect them. We got too many hype jobs getting credit when they don't even deserve that much credit. I think Crawford should get the credit. He beat Canelo fair and square, dominated him, and Crawford is a great fighter, very great fighter. But you know they like to overhype the little cinnamon. What was that? The cinnamon hair guy. Hey, Wawuwa. Let me pronounce your name right. I don't want to butcher your name, my brother. Wawuwa says, dude, you are great and you are spot on. 3 thumbs up. I appreciate you, my brother. I'm just calling a spade, and I like to say things like that are true because a lot of people don't want to say the truth. They want to say things that are not true. They want to say things that are not true and overhype the people that don't deserve the hype. The ones that do deserve the hype, they want to undermine them. Felix Tito Trinidad is levels above Golovkin. Levels. Golovkin is trash. Golovkin is not a Hall of Famer at all. I think Danny Garcia is better than him. Danny Garcia has proven more than him. Proven more. With Lucas Matisse. He's proven more. Amir Khan, even though Amir Khan had no chin, I just think that Danny Garcia proved more than Golovkin. Golovkin stayed at the same weight class his whole career. Didn't fight nobody but bums. 21 defenses against bums, and he didn't beat the elite. He never beat the elite. So nah, I say Danny Garcia deserves to be a Hall of Famer. It's not the greatest resume, but it's better than Golovkin. Felix Tito Trinidad is definitely a Hall of Famer, and it's a really great resume. I say he's the best welterweight, greatest welterweight ever, and the greatest junior middleweight ever. I said it, Felix Tito Trinidad, the greatest welterweight ever, and the greatest junior middleweight ever. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Don't be afraid to subscribe. Don't be afraid to like. Because if you're afraid to like and subscribe, then you are not going to survive. You're going to just keep following the fake news and the fake boxing content creators that don't give you the truth and don't inform you. That's not me. Tony also informs you with the unadulterated truth, and I always speak my mind. I'm not afraid. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. I appreciate all the comments. Yeah, I want to read that comment once before I leave. Wawuwa, dude, you are great and you are spot on. 3 thumbs up. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Everybody. And Kenneth, Harvin 7861. All you guys are great. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Peace. Don't be afraid. If you want the truth, subscribe and like.